Welcome back, everybody, to the Digital Gate Studios production. Justin,
How's it going?
had to have you here for this one. Basil was here for the last one. This is kind of a pet deck of mine. This is something that I've been really having fun with. This has kind of been my my baby for this entire format, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of hinted about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's a cool deck because it has a lot of new cards, but it has a lot of really, really old cards. And this is just a testament to really good deck building and recognizing, hey, there's some value in these cards. And when we get there, you'll see what I mean. So.
Yeah. So this is the third green Gatcha deck profile. You'll see some cards that were in the last two, essentially, but I've done a ton of testing with this. I've taken it to multiple locals, probably over 12 to 15.
Yeah, this is your baby. This is your life.
This is my meta-defining baby because this meta has been carnage because we haven't hit restrictions yet. So we do a lot of things in this format. We play Digimon by effects. They make us play Digimon by effects. They're big bodies. They play their like Numemon plays things when it's deleted. So there's a lot of answers in this deck for a lot of things in the format. So we'll jump into it. So a lot of things are the same. So we're going to jump into the eggs. We're still playing for the Quartzmon.
Yep.
This makes your 3 flip a 4 flip. So,
which is kind of important when you're gambling.
It's important when you're gambling. The thing that this deck doesn't do as much as you would think is gamble, because you do run a lot of consistency cards. You run a lot of search cards. You're really, depending on what your opponent's doing, you're really trying to build your ideal line.
For sure.
But when you got to gamble, you got to gamble. So this helps you out a lot there. Also, this helps set up secondary stacks and that sort of thing, or your next turn.
Right.
We do run 5 eggs because we do run Mimi. So we are running an Argomon. This very rarely comes up. This is more just there so you have a 5th egg if you need it. If your game is running long enough where you need 5 eggs, it's a grind. It's a grind match. You know, it's,
I like how 5 eggs are now indicative of either 2 cards. It's either Ukomon or Mimi. So.
Yeah, exactly. You're in a grind fest. You're going stack against stack if you're hitting your 5th egg. But
this deck can do it, but it's not like an OTK deck, right? Like eventually it'll beat your opponent out, but there are going to be games against certain decks where their security is going to have a lot of options, and you just don't like punch decks down that fast.
Yeah, you do an early 4-punch check essentially,
and then it's like done,
and then it's pretty much done because they have to deal with it after that.
Right.
So we'll get into the best rookie in the lineup. The one that gives you those 4 punches, the Kokuwa. This is if you're level 6, Sec +1. It's a BT1 card. It's a 1-cost Evo, which I know kind of sounds like a cringe card, but having Sec +1 on everything you're swinging with typically it's worth it.
Yeah. Back then, this is a BT1 card. It's funny, but also I think keywords were more of a premium back then.
Yeah.
But this is one of the premiums that I can kind of see that premium cost actually show up, and it makes sense. It was printed older, but you'd be surprised about the amount of damage this one card makes the level 6 do. So.
Turn pass for 1 is really irritating for your opponent. Typically, they're going to turn pass it back to you with an Evo into a 4 for 2, and then you're able to
turn pass for
you just counter back and forth, and eventually. But stack for stack, if you're building your ideal stack and raising, and they're building their ideal stack and raising, I would say pound for pound, this is a really good verse there. So it's worth it. Now we're getting into one of Basil's favorite cards, and this is a card that has become my favorite card in this deck, just for this meta, for this format, because I was playing the other Kokuwa that has the same inherit as the Stingmon. When you delete a Digimon in battle, gain a memory. And then I took it to locals, and oh my god, you're going up against Lugermon, you're going up against Nubis, you're going up against Jessmon, you're going up against Numemon, you're going up against all these crazy cards, and you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why would I play that card when I can just play four floodgates?
Right.
The one that stops everything that's happening in the meta right now.
Which is, I mean, floodgates, they come and go, but you got to recognize when certain floodgates are like, this beats a lot of decks. I feel like both play-by-effects floodgates and memory floodgates are just really, really good right now. And it's kind of not stupid to not think about it at the very least. If you can smash it, play it.
And this is a rare deck where it doesn't necessarily have a tribe. So you're not hurting consistency by putting a full play set in. And this is really tough for your opponent to deal with because a lot of times they'll commit cards out of their hand or their deck because they'll see that first or second Pomamon and they're like, clearly they don't run more. But if you always have another Pomamon, it's really irritating for your opponent.
A playset of floodgates are really irritating.
Yeah.
So yeah,
especially in Leviamon when they force you to play something out of your trash because this deck only plays one Digimon by effect. When they force you to play Digimon by effect and it's a Pomamon,
they don't get their
they don't get
the new Dragomon says opponents play first, and then it reacts when something gets played by an effect to play one of their own things by.
And then Biting Crush doesn't activate.
Biting Crush doesn't activate.
Yeah, so it's this card is really annoying for your opponent. And this, like I said, this is one of the rare decks where it doesn't hurt your consistency to run a full play set. So we do. If I could run 6, I would run 6. Instead, I do run 3. We still run the Kunomon. This card is just more search in the deck. The deck needs to find its pieces to work.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, you find your pieces. You have to. You have to do it. So
or you don't get an X game.
Yeah. I was running this in my previous list with the Leopardmon because it would play this for free. But hard dropping it for 3 in a pickle just to find because it does search 3. Worst case scenario, it'll probably find a boost, which will get you to 4 more. And you're digging your deck. So
this is a very classic old time deck where the entire line is the 3, the 4, the 5, and the 6, and you got to find them. So.
Yeah. Another key part of this deck, I will say that you need to start your deck with the availability to start at 3 memory. So whether that's through boost or Mimi, because everything in your deck you want to, because you're evoing into your 6 for free. So you want to start your turn at 3 memory either to go into the 5 and swing and do your thing, or to have your 5 already set up and drop a Pomu on your turn and then do your thing, because a lot of times they're on deletions will play Digimon by effects. Like Numamon, if you put this out and then hope that they won't kill it on their turn, they're going to kill it.
They're going to kill it.
This is more of a play it and then do your thing on your turn to stop them from reacting. And then the Kunomon, same thing. If you need to search, find that level 6, do your thing. Starting your memory at 3 is very, very important in this deck.
For sure.
And then the all-star MVP of the level 4s is Tortomon.
This is you were alluding to it. We gamble, but not really.
This card eliminates the gamble. This is like cheating in blackjack. I mean, this is just let you take one out of your hand, put it on the top, and then all of a sudden you're good to go.
You're good to go.
And it gives you 3K every time you swing. It's not once per turn, so it makes sure level 6 is huge.
Massive. These get to big DP numbers.
So essentially what you want to do is you want to have the Kokuwa and the Tortomon on top. So you're swinging, you're putting a 6 on top, you're going 2 checks for big, big numbers.
Yeah, 17, 18K.
Yep. Now, the next ones are kind of open for interpretation. I like running 3 of the Stingmons. It's a turbo card. The inheritable happens, I don't know, maybe 10% of your games because you are swinging at bodies with one of your level 6s, not necessarily your other ones. But turbo is nice, especially considering it kind of makes up for the 1-cost Evo on the Kokuwa. You can still get into that level 4
you paid
for
it forward,
2.
Right?
Yeah. It's not bad. Now, a new addition to the deck. This is one, if you have 4, you can go up to 4. I don't know if the value's there, but the Kuagamon's really good. You could run just a playset of Kuagamon. I do like the turbo, but this is the promo one. These are kind of spendy right now because people are using them in...
At the time of recording, I think they're like $35 a piece, which I'm not even joking. I can't believe promo cards get this expensive.
It's a box topper high roll, essentially, out of the BT14.
I think a lot of those box toppers are just super expensive. I really hope Bandai fixes that. So just play 4 Stingmons if you can't find
If you can't find this, just play 4 Stingmons and call it good. But it's very good. It's gotten me out of a lot of, sticky situations where your opponent... has a Quartzmon or whatever, and they're going to trash security and go for game or whatever. You can lock them out for 1 turn with this. Or it's also very good if you're playing against like a cross player and they only have one. It's a red tamer. Taiki. They only have 1 Taiki out. It's suspended. You want to lock them.
It's a surprisingly flexible card, and it has like a decent inherit, right?
Yep,
like,
2K.
So
because there are times, it's rare, but there are times where if you swing with your level 5, like your Yagamon, 7K. If you have the 2K, it's nice to be a 9K.
Yeah.
It's a little bit safer if you do miss on your Gacha, if you don't necessarily have
because if we're on Stingmon or the Kuagumon, we're gambling.
We are gambling for sure. So we run that. And then we do run 1 Arbormon. This is very good in the fact that there are a lot of times where you do have a Mimi on board and a boost. So having a Mimi and a boost means you're starting your turn at 3. Pop the boost, go to 5. You can go up into You're level 4 for 2, and you can still get into your level 5 and swing and get a gotcha turn in off of your tamer. So that happens quite a bit. So it's nice to have that little bit of flexibility, and of course the Arbor for game is good.
We were kind of talking about it earlier, where we get the 4 checks and the deck kind of slows down because well, it's really dependent on what your opponent does. But they will have 1 security left, so a lot of times we can maybe use the Mimi to raise. And then later on, if we have 2 Mimis especially, we can go on Harbormon and get that game there. So hybrids will always be good. You'll always find 1 or 2 in most decks. So seems good.
The level 5s, we're not really messing around with level 5s. These are the same.
Yeah, can't mess with
we
them.
run 8 because you need to see them. You need to find them.
It's 8 copies of the same card.
It's 8 copies of the same card. The one that plays for 5 is surprisingly, like I said, Mimi in 1 boost. You can drop this and hard Evo into one of your 6s. It's not always the worst thing in the world. So one of them still swings. The other one does a lot of. We'll get there.
Yeah,
but
we'll get there.
These are really good. So this is your gotcha package.
This is the core of the deck, right?
Yeah.
This is the
plus
namesake.
the Tortomon plus the Kokua. This is the combo you want. Any combination of these, doesn't matter which one you get, but you definitely want those.
Yeah, mix and match them however you want. They do the same thing.
Yeah. We do run one more level 5, and this card is one that you don't see in a lot of gotcha lists, but I do find that it helps the deck's consistency. You don't necessarily get the burst off that much because you don't raise your level 4s or the blast, but the One Lily Ace. It's a really good counter to opponents that will prematurely raise or they'll put out a blocker or something that you just want to get rid of. Bottom decking a 5K and then being set up for a gotcha if they don't deal with this. Plus it's 8K, so they can't like Crimson Blaze it away. They kind of have to actively do something to pop this.
Right.
I don't run a lot just because you don't really want to lose. You don't really want to overflow in this deck.
Yeah.
But it's a good one of. I
think bottom deck as a removal is amazing in this meta. I mean, Numemon sending one of their Nume X's to the bottom of their deck because it's not deletion. They don't get their recursion.
Yeah,
and it means the Nume X isn't in their trash anymore, so they can't recycle it over and over.
Yep.
Other than that, I think it's good when it's good, but it's like you don't really want it on your main stack, so you just play one of. So it's nice when you see it.
Situational.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. We are going to get into our new level 6 package. Now, I started toying with this again, so I think my first list was like 2 years ago. It was really weird, campy, toolboxy, a lot of level 7s, a lot of fun. It was more of a fun thing, and then started getting that new Leopardmon stuff, got really into that. I've tested almost every top end you can think of as far as tribes. Imperial, Bugs, Rosemon, all that stuff. And I really like the list that got top 64 at Nationals.
Yeah.
And so I started to really mess with that top end. But like Basil alluded to in your guys' review of the Nats, that one was really based on just counter Anubis.
Yeah, for sure.
So I kind of messed with that because that played Sneemons and the security the security green guy. Basil, what is it?
Sneemon.
No, the security rookie. Pulsemon. That's it. Yeah. So a lot of out of security effects. I shied away from that just because I really wanted to do the Pamu thing and kind of disrupt.
I mean, it's a reaction to meta. Both decks were like,
for sure.
A response to a meta.
But I did like the top end, and so I've kind of messed with some of that. We are running 4 heavy Leomons. This card is the star of the mega slot in the deck.
Yeah.
If you don't know what this card does, it's really disruptive. It is very worthy of a 5-cost Evo.
Yeah.
In that it Evos, it de-digivolves because it is half black, and then it also bottom decks a 6K on Evo. That's also on deletion. It's the same thing, which is crazy. And then end of attack, it'll bottom deck a 4K. If it doesn't, it'll unsuspend. So one thing you're missing on this is a when attacking, which is exactly what you need for green gotcha, because you don't get that because you're not attacking with your 6s.
Right.
So you do get your end of attack. So you're going to Evo, you're going to disrupt by de-digivolving, you're going to disrupt by bottom decking, and then you're going to disrupt by either unsuspending, getting 2 more checks, or you're going to bottom deck another thing.
Yeah, this card is insane, and if it was a purple, it would have cost 3 to evolve, and it would have all the same effects. So we have to Gacha into it.
The most important part too is that it has fortitude. So that's insane because it's always going to have sources initially, but it just makes the card very, very sticky. And like I said, its on deletion is the same thing. So you're going to de-digivolve again if it dies. You're gonna bottom deck another thing if it dies.
This deck is very good into metas that have on deletion effects, and we're talking about it. Nume X is the scary deck. Won the last Ultimate Cup, and bottom decking is really, really good into those effects. So this card is super annoying to deal with. And if you ever like faced one down and you had a board and your removal is based off of your Digimon, it gets really awkward. You remove it and then your entire stack dies, or you have to play around the fact that it de-digivolves. So even if you are bigger than a 6K, sometimes that doesn't always matter, and it's really, really sticky, and it puts on pressure. So it's a really good card, and it makes sense why somebody top nats with it, because look how annoying this card text is.
Yeah, especially so I've played it at locals a lot against all kinds of stuff. I mean, Chaosmon, it's terrifying. D-Brigade, it's terrifying. Numamon,
what does D-Brigade do against that?
Yeah, it's really, really scary once you get it out. So this is definitely a 4 of. We'll get into what goes on top of this in a sec. So it's Companion, and this is another one that was played in that Nats list. I really do like this card. Thought about going 4, but I do like it at 3. This is the Saber Leo. So this is another unsuspend. So this is another card that's going to get you 4 checks in one swing, essentially, or 2 swings in the same turn. This is also your board, another good form of board removal because you're going to pierce. This one is kind of what triggers the Stingmon, so you'll get like 1 memory back. It is end of turn, so if you do want to play something out past turn, it'll still attack a Digimon. So still good. Now we get kind of toolboxy with our last 2 because I do run a little bit heavier on the level 6s because in Gacha you do need to see them.
You need to see at least one.
You need to see them. I do really like having a 1 of Boncho Leo. This is very matchup specific. It's nice to have this out because it does pass out a 4K DP minus and sec minus 1 whenever any Digimon becomes suspended once per turn. And it's on play, suspend something, and it plays for 7.
And if I remember correctly, it's not the thing that gets suspended. You get to choose.
You get to choose, yeah.
So it is really awkward if you're playing an aggro deck. If they play that and you can't remove it, your game is pretty much over.
Yeah.
Your little bodies don't stick. Even your bigger bodies can't swing for anything. So, really awkward card, and it's really similar to the heavy. It's like once it's out, it's really awkward to deal anything, especially if your deck doesn't remove it in a good way.
Yeah. The thing that comes up quite a bit, I've noticed, is that if you have this in hand, you'll have like a heavy Leo stack out. You'll swing twice. You'll do 4 checks. And then all of a sudden they have 1 security and you have 5. And all of a sudden you're at the requirement to play this for 7.
Yeah.
Which
so even hard playing it is not that bad.
Another good interaction with this card is the kunon because it plays out and then you can suspend it on play, which would trigger your Boncho to trigger. So a lot of cool synergy there with that. So it's a tech card. And then one more tech card is we play a Quartzmon. This is for your Wargrave matchup. This is for your Machine Dramon matchup. This is for those redirect matchups, essentially. It's really interesting because it'll let you recover yourself and then look at your opponent's security stack if you want to. It's really interesting. Like I said, start your turn with 3 memory. You have your Gatcha stacks set up. You raise, you Kunomon, you do your search for free, or you do your search for 3, and then you swing, you put Quantum on top.
And
then you can recover the Kunomon and then look at their security, pull something out. A lot of fun ways to interact with this card. I thought I was going to go higher on this card, but I really like it as just a tech. 13K is also nothing to shy away from. It's pretty strong because you're going to be gaining
13K plus whatever the amount of
2K or 3K. Yeah. So that's my level 6 lineup. I really like it. It's something I've been toying with a lot. The only thing that makes me think I might change this up is BT16. I'm going to mess with the Imperial top end because we get some new pieces there.
Any new level 6, right? You tested them all, might as well keep going.
But it's got to be good.
For sure.
Because in my prior list, I was running, or I've tried out the like the Leopardmon stuff, having the X antibody option. It just required more setup. This requires little to no setup other than what you have. You know? The other ones are like, well, if you had the X antibody in hand, that helps. I was looking at the new Hercules Kabuterimon stuff because it got a decent level 6. The Herc X antibody's always been good. Bottom deck is suspended. The new Herc sets that up, but you have to have the right pieces all at the same time, and it's already kind of a chore getting the right pieces you want. So any more setup, I think, slows the deck down.
For sure.
We'll get to this level 7 at the end because there are a few different options for that, but we're going to get into Mimi.
Yep.
We run 3. Like I
you
said,
were saying, we need 3 memory.
we need 3 memory, and you need the aggression of being able to hatch and set up your next stack as quickly as possible.
Yeah, because, even after you deal with the heavy or any of the level 6s, the next one's coming.
Yeah.
The next one's coming, and it's going to do the exact same thing. And eventually, if you go into a grind game, this deck will outvalue, which is crazy because green usually is a little bit, board dependent. They need to clear the stuff, and then that's it. But this one, it keeps going. Even after you remove the first one, it's going to get into another boss monster.
For sure. And like I said, if you don't set up the ideal stack as your first one, you're going to have the pieces for your second one.
Right.
So as long as you can accelerate that second stack, you're usually in a pretty good spot to react. We do play 4 of the green memory boosts. I know you were asking me, like, well, what do you think the difference is between the trainings and the boosts?
Right.
And in this deck, when you want to find your pieces, you want to dig 4. You don't want to dig 2. And you want to start your turn at 3 memory. We'll just reiterate that 1,000 times. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
If you don't have a Mimi, at least you have a boost, and you can start your turn because it seems like this deck doesn't really need reduced evolution cost because you already do it on your level 5. So.
For sure. And so you have 7 things coming out of security that are going to set you to 3. So you hang on to those. We do run 2 Grandel Souls because we do need to remove bodies sometimes, and sometimes we are a turn behind because we're looking for the right stack or the right pieces. So having these in your security or in your hand is just a way to, take care of that big stack. If it's
you can always justify spot removal in most decks. So
yeah, and another good synergy with the kunon because if you swing with your level 7. Or your level 6, and you have 3 memory, as we talked about. Play the kunon, then you have 2 suspended bodies, and then Grand also costs less. So pretty good. And then, of course, we run 1
mandatory.
HPD.
We don't even need it to start.
Don't need to say why. HPD is awesome because we do have awesome when digivolving effects on all of these. So if you evo into your heavy Leo suspended, you're still getting good value.
For sure.
The Saber Leo will still unsuspend and swing if they have something that is unsuspended.
And this card is the reason why this heavy Leo costs 5.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Quartzmon, same thing. You're still going to get that really awesome when digivolving effects. So HPD is very warranted in the deck. Even in security, it's nice to get it in hand. Now, the last 2 cards. So this is very similar to Ulforce in that the top end is very contentious. It's very hard to choose because it's not an obvious answer.
Right.
There are several options. I know Quartzmon is always an option, right?
Yeah, Quartzmon is amazing. So.
Quartzmon is a great card. It does not synergize with this deck in that Quartzmon needs bodies on board or tamers on board.
Yeah, but this one we're just like nuking the board.
You're nuking the board on your way to your level 7. So there's nothing that
you're getting no value.
You're getting no value out of it other than having, and you don't really have a lot on board either. We're not setting up a wide board to suspend. You don't want to freeze your mimes because that's not how the deck works either.
Right.
So Quartzmon is not the way, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
Rosemon burst mode, it's cheaper, it's fun, it's quirky, but it's green, so you can search it, so that's great. But once again, not great.
Turns out we just needed to go to another color.
Yeah. Honorable mention, shout out, because we do swing a bunch in this, and if you really want to go, it's almost OTK, but it can't pierce for game. The Chaosmon will get you 2 more checks at 1,000,000 because you can activate that Tortomon 3 times and get it up to 22,000.
This thing is never dying.
It's huge, and it'll pierce and swing over unsuspended Digimon. So the Chaosmon is an honorable mention. It's very good. It's not searchable. So we're gonna go to the tried and true.
Just throw this in every deck.
2 Death X. And I know that's what takes this out of the budget category. So if you don't have Death X, that's okay.
Yeah.
Run 2 Chaosmons. They're cheap. They're aggressive. They can swing over unsuspended bodies. I recommend the Chaosmon as your alternative to this if you don't have 2 Death X handy. I will say the Death X pairs really well with the Heavy Leo in that the Heavy Leo's evoing for free. So you're already de-digivolving a 6 down to a 5. You're bottom decking a 6. You're either bottom decking another 4 or you're unsuspending and doing your stuff. You really need something worth value to get rid of that fortitude.
For sure, for sure.
The Death X is your value because if you're still at 3 memory and you evo for 6, you're taking that level, that what was a level 6 down to a 4 and deleting it.
Yeah, this deck is sticking with the theme of This deck has some of the best removal in the game. It has DP minus, has bottom decking, has D-Digivolve, and then it has a Death X.
Yeah. And once again, Death X is not a dead card in hand ever. It's always useful. So that's the deck. I will say that the only thing that this Palmomon stops in this deck is the fortitude off of this. So you do have to be careful of that. Other than that, hard drop these all day long. Have a blast. If you have to Evo it, it doesn't feel bad because you have 4.
Yeah.
You'll probably see another one.
And depending on your local scene, you can also just play like the memory floodgates. Yeah, probably the same thing.
You could do that too. If you're facing down a whole bunch of memory boosts into your opponent or whatever, you could definitely you could go 2 and 2 Terriermon. You can do whatever.
Or you can just drop the Death X for it. So
yeah,
if you want to keep it more budget. So
yeah. So that's the deck. This is the one. It's been doing great at locals. It's been doing great in this meta. So if you guys are looking for a budget deck minus the Death X, I would check this one out.
Yeah.
So that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.